stories. I was reading something the other day that was saying that human beings are addicted to stories. So addicted, in fact, that even when we sleep, our mind stays awake and tells itself stories in our dreams. Stories are a fantastic way for us to remember and organise new information. And in music, we have to deal with the information to do with when we play a note and when we do nothing. And both of those things come with a certain amount of time. You'll be told to play a note for a certain amount of time, and you'll be told to do nothing for a certain amount of time, and what's great is you still get paid. So we measure time in music in terms of beats. So what's a beat? Well, we all dance to a beat. It's the underlying pulse which organises the music. Sometimes there are notes or a lot of notes that are playing on top of the beats. Sometimes the beats are silent, but we still feel those beats when we listen to the music. So, in terms of what we're asked to do in music, quite often we're asked to play a note for one beat. And in musical notation, that's indicated by a solid note head with a straight stem. My stem isn't all that straight, as you can see, never mind. Sometimes we're asked to play a note for half a beat. And that, again, has a solid note head, a stem, and this extra little, it's almost like a hand being held out. That's called a beam. And quite often, pairs of half-beat notes are joined together. They're beams joined together, which you might have seen. So I use a story to remember our note lengths, and this is half a beat. And I say, when my daughter was just half a year old, she needed me to hold her hand all the time, and she always reached out her hand to do things. By the time she got to the age of 1, she didn't hold out her hand anymore. She was getting a bit more independent. Now, let's cut ahead to when she was 2, and this is where the story is going to get a little bit sad. She got quite sick. Do you see her pale face there? And she was sick for a couple of years. But when she was 4, she said, "Dad, I feel a lot better. And you know what? I'm ready to see the whole world." So we have 4-beat notes, also called whole notes. We have 2-beat notes, which are hollow with a stem. We have 1-beat notes, which are solid note heads with a stem. And we have half-beat notes, which are solid note heads with a stem and a beam. There's only 2 note lengths I would like to add at this stage. I'd like a halfway point between 1 and 2 beats. So what's halfway? That's 1.5. And to do that, I'm going to take a 1-beat note, and to add the 0.5, I'm going to add a dot. I would also like a halfway point between 2 beats and 4 beats. So the halfway there is 3. And to do that, I'm going to take a 2-beat note, and again, I'm going to add a dot. So therefore, we have a half a beat note, solid note head, stem, beam. A 1-beat note, solid note head, stem. A 1.5, solid note head, stem with a dot. A 2-beat note, hollow note head with a stem. A 3-beat note, hollow note head with a stem and a dot. And a 4-beat note, hollow note head, no stem. So how about those occasions where we're asked to do absolutely nothing? Well, we have symbols for rests as well. And we can have a half beat rest, a 1 beat rest, a 2 beat rest, a 4 beat rest, and then we can use rhythm dots to make a 3 beat rest and a 1.5. So the bass line here is a 1 beat rest, and we draw that with a Z, and then the second half of it is a C. Now the half beat rest is actually really just the top half of that symbol. So if I just take that 7 with the curly top, then that's the half beat rest. I haven't made up stories for those two, so I'd be really happy for somebody to decide a story that works visually and just put a comment on this video. That would be awesome. Right, we come to our 2 beat rest and our 4 beat rest, and I'll tell you a story that I was told, and I still remember even though it hardly makes any sense at all. For these rests, I actually need to draw up what's called our 5-line stave. Right, so the stave is this group of 5 lines on which we write notated music very often. And the reason I have to write the stave in is that the 2 beat rest and the 4 beat rest look very, very similar, but where they're positioned on the stave will determine which is which. Now, I was told about a monkey at the circus, and he wanted to try some things out. So he, in front of the audience, he climbed up onto the 3rd wire up in the tightrope walking trapeze area, and he lay down on top of the wire, the 3rd wire up. Now, I don't quite know why he is a square-shaped monkey, but maybe he was also a contortionist and was able to create his body into a wonderful kind of coffin shape there. So that is the 2 beat rest. Now, when he did that, he got a couple of claps from the audience, and he went away pretty encouraged, but he's a pretty ambitious monkey who likes to lie down in a coffin shape, and so he wanted to up the ante and get some more claps. So the next day, he climbed up onto the 4th wire up, and instead of lying on it, he actually lay upside down. The crowd went wild, and he doubled his claps from the day before. And so in music rest notation, if we have a rectangle box there sitting on top of the 3rd line up, that's a 2 beat rest. And if we have the same sized rectangle box hanging upside down off the 4th line up, then that's a 4 beat rest. Now, what about the 1.5 and the 3? Well, we do exactly the same thing as we did with note heads. You'll remember that for a 1.5 beat note, we took the symbol for a 1 beat note and we added a rhythm dot to it. So let me just write that here. We're going to take a 1 beat rest and we're going to put a rhythm dot next to it. And here for the 3 beat rest, I'm going to have to draw my 5 lines again. And I'm going to take a 2 beat rest. And I'm going to add a rhythm dot to it. And there we have it. That's all the rhythms that we need for our most basic level of music theory. We've got the half beat rest. We've got the 1 beat rest. We've got the 1.5, we've got the 2, we've got the 3, and we've got the 4 beat rest.